Daf Ayin Vov. We're by the Mishnah. Still waiting for some people to come in. It's Monday.
So what's the Mishnah about this one?
So today we're going to discuss the Tzoymas Hagidin, the junction of the tendons. The Achilles tendon and the two other tendons that are there, and how that affects a treifa and kashrus of the animal.
In the legs, in the hind quarters.
Right, only in the hind legs, like we said. Says the Mishnah, Behema shenechtechu ragleh. An animal whose legs, referring to the rear, to the legs, not to the feet, to the legs, the back, the hind legs. That makes it a treifa. If the front foot is severed, it's not a big deal, it could live. But the rear ones are a problem. Minahar kuva ulamata, from the joint and below, kshera, you're allowed to eat the animal. And the Gemara is going to explain everything. What the arkuva is, minahar kuva ulamala psula, what you turned on the air conditioner. Minahar kuva ulamala psula. But from the joint and above, it's usher to eat. We're talking about eating now. We're not talking about tum anymore. V'chein shenitel tzoymas hagidin. So we have to remember this line over here.
This area, right?
The tzoymas hagidin. Yeah. Let's see, with permission from Art Scroll. This is the tzoymas hagidin. So you see the white tendons are the tzoymas. Right? These are the gidin. Sorry, the white are the gidin. Tzoymas is where they come together in this area over here.
So like on a puppet where you want to bend
the strings.
So you pull the strings so it comes to hidden,
Enables
the animal to bend its leg.
The bones to move, correct. Nishbar ha'etzem, if the bone broke, what do we call it, a compound fracture? If most of the meat is existing, the Gemara is going to explain if it means most of the meat around the bone, or it's most of the meat of the thickness of the bone, so you don't see the marrow. The shchita allows you to eat it. If you don't have a lot of meat, you don't have roi basar, you can't eat it. And now let's see in the Gemara what's going on here. Omar Rav Yehuda Omar Rav. Omar Reb Chia. Lemata min arkuva. So, here's a more detailed picture. So if this is like our ankle, human's ankle, right over here. Their feet go straight down. They don't have a foot like we have. So this would be equivalent to our ankle, all the way on the bottom of our foot. And this is like their toes and their foot goes straight down.
But above the hoof, they have like a...
Yeah, correct. But we also have some joints in our feet. But halachically, this is like an ankle. Otherwise, they would have 4 joints. 1, 2, 3, 4. Which they do, but we also kind of whatever. Just pretend this is the ankle, this is the knee, and this is the thigh. So now he's saying, min arkuva ulamata and lamala. So basically, if we take this joint, immediately below this is kosher. Immediately above this is treif. That's what he's saying now. Lamata min arkuva, immediately directly below the joint. Lamala makuva, directly above the joint. And we're going to see another shita that doesn't say it like this. Be'eza akuva amru, which joint are we referring to? Is it this joint over here, like the ankle, or is it the knee? Barkuva hanim keres imaroish. There's a concept in the time of the Gemara called the joint that's sold with the head. So if you sell the animal's head, nobody really wants to buy a head. There's nothing there. So I'll throw in a bone. I give you this. I give you this piece for free. It's nimkar imaroish. When I sell the head, I give you from here down. So when I talk about in our kuva, I talk about a joint. I'm talking about the lower joint, this part over here. Thanks, Avi.
It's not referring to the head of the joint, the humerus.
No. Harkuva hanimkeres, it's sold with the head.
It's like when you buy bones to make soup or something. So
You get a little bit more than just the head.
it's not meat. You're not buying meat.
I mean, there's literally no meat on this thing. It's like the Gemara is going to say, it's all,
So you buy the head and you get the leg.
yeah. Kids, you're trying to make a soup, so you get all the components of the soup. You get the head and you get the bone. Stop. Ula says, no, we're not talking about this joint. We're talking about this joint. So, what's interesting about a camel, if you look at a camel, it almost looks like a human leg. The camel's leg is completely exposed all the way to the top. I don't have a picture of a cow, but a cow here, if you look at a cow, you don't see this joint at all. In horses, cows, these kinds of animals, it's completely covered. You don't see it. Maybe when it moves a little bit, it'll pop out. The camel is completely exposed. So he's saying, we're not talking about the ankle joint down here. We're talking about this joint over here. Over here. This guy. Okay? Big nafkamina. In other words, anything below the joint, anything that's cut below this joint of the camel, or the we're talking about a cow here, a kosher animal, is kosher. Anything above the joint is treif, nothing to do with that ankle joint that we're talking about. That's ula. I'll prove it to you from the Mishnah. I say we're talking about the upper joint. The Mishnah says, let's go back here. The first sheet is, we're talking about this joint over here. Where's the tzomis hagidin? On this joint. So then what does it mean, v'chein tzomis hagidin? If you cut it right above over here, it's treif. And also, by the way, if you cut the tzomis hagidin, it's treif. The tzomis hagidin is above here. It's one of the same. The Mishnah didn't add anything. It says, the third line in the Mishnah, min arkuva ulamala psula, anything above the joint is possible. V'chein, and also if you cut the tendons. The only way to get it really is to cut the tendons. So you cut the tendons, you cut the joint. But according to me, that I'm talking about this joint over here, so anything above this joint is treif. Not only that, even if you go lower down here, you cut the tzomis hagidin, it's treif. But if you cut it over here, it's kosher. There's one other, in other words, this is the joint, Ula says, this is the joint. If I cut the animal over here, treif. If I cut it over here, kosher, treif. Just by the tzomis hagidin, and then kosher, everything is kosher. Besides this one area over here, so it makes sense. V'chein tzomis hagidin, there's one area called tzomis hagidin. But according to you, that we are discussing this joint, so v'chein tzomis hagidin and the joint is one of the same. Omalei, no, it's not the same. Rechuva below tzomis hagidin. I was talking about two halachas. What if I cut the bone without the tendons? Yeah, why not? I stick a knife inside and I cut the bone. Just reminded me something. Your chavrusa told me that it takes him 10 minutes to cut a bone. He said, the bones are so strong. I said, you're not using the right tool. If you have a tool, he goes, what do you have? I said, I have a jigsaw. I said, I could do it in 5 seconds. Like 2 weeks later, Erev Shabbos, a knock on my door, 2 kids with a stopwatch. Here's a bone, my father wants to see you cut it. And I took out my jigsaw, whoop, like butter. Anyways, so, yeah, if a guy cut the bone without the tzomis hagidin, it's treif. And if you cut the tzomis hagidin without the bone, it's treif. That's what he's saying here. That's why it says v'chein tzomis hagidin. V'tzomis hagidin b'lo rechuva. So he tells him, no, you have to be medaik in the word. The word says in the Mishnah, v'hanechtechu ktani, completely cut, severed, done. So if it's severed, it means the bone and the tzomis hagidin. You can't make 2 halachas out of it. It's one. He cut one cut, the tzomis hagidin and the bone. Ishtik had nothing to say. Lebasa denofik Omar, oi, What a shame. I could have answered him. My time Eloi Amrle, why didn't they tell him Lemato min arkuva? When I said Lemato, I meant right below the joint over here. Lemalo mitzomis hagidim. But when I meant lemalo, I didn't mean directly above the joint. I meant up here. Where is the treif up here? And then the Mishnah comes and adds v'chein tzomis hagidim, and also this area over here. Until now we were saying lemata is right here and lemala is right above the joint. He's saying no, lemala might not be above the joint where the tzomis hagidim is. Lemala is up here. So he said, "Lemala tzomis hagidim." Hodo Amar. Then he said to himself, "You know what? It's a good thing I didn't answer that." I already had a very good answer. I told him before a different answer and a different kasha. I told him there's a difference between cutting just the bone and cutting just the tzomis hagidim. And what did he tell me? That's not a good answer. Why? Because he's medayik from the word. He's mamish and medayik in every word. It says the word nechtechu means both. So then my answer now wouldn't work either because he's a very big medayik in words. It says from the joint and above. So I can't jump. From the joint means right here and immediately above. So I can't jump all the way to here. He's not going to like that answer. Rapapa masna hachi. Rapapa has a different way of saying Rav. Or Rav Chio. Omer Rav Yudah, Omer Rav, Omer Rav Chio. Lemato min arkuva u'metzomis hagidin. Lemalo min arkuva u'metzomis hagidin. So he's saying similar pshat to what he wanted to say now, that the lemata and lemala are two different places. Lemata is referring to this joint. Lemala is referring to this joint. Anything below this joint is kosher. Anything above this joint cut is treif. I'm not discussing this shank bone at all. This, not talking about. L'malo min arkuva mitzomis hagidin v'chein, and then the Mishnah comes along and says, by the way, on the shank bone itself, there's one area that's a problem called the tzomis hagidin right over here. Yes, this whole bone is kosher, but don't mess around with the tzomis hagidin on the bottom of that bone. What joint are we talking about? There's two joints, right? You have this joint and this joint. So when the Mishnah says arkuva, what is it referring to? Kidula, Amr Abaishia. Ula is the one that said we're talking about the camel joint, the upper one. So when I say joint, I mean the upper one.
I don't understand. When it says lamata min arkuva, which arkuva is it talking about?
Lower than this joint, than the camel joint, but all the way in the bottom. Anything, in other words, below this joint, but you got to go mamish below. I think it's jumping in the lashon. No, you don't like that?
Yeah, I know. The lechura is talking about lamata min arkuva is talking about underneath
This
the bottom.
joint, but there's one joint, there's one arkuva. It's Ula's arkuva. It's the camel's arkuva, and it's mamish very, very low. It could also be down here. This is the arkuva, and I'm talking about the tippy toe of the hoof. It's still below the arkuva.
But tzomis hagidin is included in the area of lamata min arkuva, right?
No.
Because if the arkuva is the top one,
Yeah.
tzomis hagidin is lower. So what he's saying is the whole thing underneath is kosher except for tzomis hagidin area?
Yeah. This whole bone, this whole shank bone, it's called a shank bone. From here to here is kosher, minus this little area of tzomis hagidin. And when I say a joint, I mean this joint over here, the camel joint.
Seems to be called a all the old way.
No, arkuva is a joint. Arkuva is oh, it itself. The joint. No, what? Not arkuva gufa. And the definition of the arkuva. What is the arkuva? What do I mean by arkuva? Do I mean this guy or this guy? So he's going to hold like Ula that it's like him, the camel. This joint that is exposed, unlike in a cow. What do you guys call it here? I have the words here. What do you? Yeah, patella. Thank you. Patella. Yeah, you're cheating because you have the art scroll. Shank bone, tarsus, metatarsus, kitzer, fancy stuff. Oh, so to be more exact, He's saying this is our kuva, the black arrow, and when I say lamata, I mean this is anything above this is no good. Anything below the red circle is good. Everything in between is okay. Besides this area where you have the tzomis agidin. Ask the Gemara what? Yeah. Because the first shita was that this is our kuva. The whole time we were talking about this is our kuva. This is lamata min our kuva. This is lamala min our kuva. Rav Papa comes with the new shita. No, we're talking about this is the joint, like ula, and lamata means you jump. That's what he doesn't understand. If we're talking about this joint, all of a sudden lamata doesn't mean below this joint. It means below this joint and above this joint. It's two separate areas. Not talking about the green at all. Ask the Gemara, and we had this kash a few times in Chullin. It comes out like this. It comes out that if somebody takes a knife and cuts the leg right where the green Papa. You can't see it? Sorry. The shank bone. If you cut on the shank bone, it's kosher. But lower down a little bit, it'll be treif because that's where the tzomis agidin is. How does it make sense physically that something that's closer to the body, you cut off the leg over here, you completely disconnect it? Well, there's no tzomis agidin. Yeah, it's already whatever it's called. Yeah, it's continuation of tzomis agidin. It's kosher. But if you cut it down here, it's treif. How's it possible? You do it above, it's going to live. Mitase, pasikle, umesa. Omar Ravashi, treifas komadamis la'adodi. You ask me kashas on a treifa. Ein oimrim betreifa zoi dom lazu. Sharei choytcha mikan. Umesa choytcha mikan v'choyo. We had this halach a few times. You have to put money in there? Yeshua, hold on. Before you put money in. Mazeh, don't put money in there. What happened? There's no key? Ah, okay.
Nice job.
It's gonna stop? You can put money in there, fine, give them a double. That's a 25-minute warning. All right. We need that at 8 o'clock. It starts beeping, you can't go any longer. That's it. So anyways, the Gemara says, look, you see there's a concept where you could shecht an animal in its neck. It kills the animal. If you take off its entire shoulder, it's closer to its head maybe. It doesn't do anything. So yes, there are places, there are arteries in the body. I don't know if that's how it works. There's certain arteries you cut, the animal dies. You go higher up, it doesn't die. So you can't compare one area to another area. Some areas are more sensitive, will cause the animal to die. Some not as. They bring down that anyways, in our days, cutting these tendons don't kill the animal. See, there's like something happened in the teva of the animal, and they bring that even in the time of the Gemara, there was some that said, no, it doesn't kill, that it started changing already in that generation. Ve'elo in tzomis hagidin. Rabba Omar Ravashi da garma ulevar. So this is a little interesting, where it goes away from the bone. So this is also taken from the art scroll. I know you probably can't see it all the way back there, but right, this top line over here, where it starts spreading away from the bone, from there up is tzomis hagidin. Rabba Rabun Omar Ravashi da garma ulegav, where it clings to the bone. So right over here, that's where the bone is, that's where it clings. I don't know if you could tell. That's the other shita. The next shita, Rabbi Bray, the Rabbi Rabun Amar Ravasi, the Lovei Arkuma. Argarma, where it goes away from the bone and where it clings to the bone. There's 6 bones right over here in this circle. One of them is called Arkuma. It's not clear exactly which one it is. But Rabbi Bray, the Rabbi Rabun Amar Ravasi, the Lovei Arkuma, right above one of these 6 bones here. Yosef Ahum Rabban Kamed Reb Abba, the Yosef Koma the Arkuma Gufa. Another shita. No, not above that little bone, but actually with that bone. Omar Le Reb Abba Le Tatzitule, don't listen to him. Achi Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Hechi de Parit Abachi. Parita Bachi, where they start flaying the leg, where they start cutting the leg. In other words, this bone is not included because they cut it above that bone. Where do you, by the joint? What?
It says over here, there's a little piece.
That piece that sticks out, this guy?
The talus.
This guy?
No, on the other side.
This little one?
Yes, that piece.
Right, but it's not 100% clear. There's a machlekes here. Machlekes, a big machlekes. Which one? Some say it's this one, some even say this one, that one. I don't know. The kitzer, one that you can see from the front, you can see from the back. Machlekes Rishonim.
The front bone is called the metatarsus.
No, the metatarsus is the cannon bone. That's this guy.
Yeah, the cannon bone.
No, that's not our kuma.
The one going down.
No, that's this.
Yeah.
We're talking about within the knee joint, there's 6 small bones. So, but he says that Al Kaparim says that when the butcher cuts it, he cuts it right above. So it can't be that the Tzemis Hagidin starts from below.
Why wouldn't you just cut it above that whole junction? And then
When?
When you're cutting.
Oh yeah, you could, when you're butchering it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the question is when it's alive and you cut it, does it cause a treifa? So that's this sheet over here. This guy. So in other words, right above, it's the middle, right above this bone. You see, here's the bone. So this is where the butcher's flay. The center line. This is the place where they junction, they come together. Vat kama, and how high up? Listen to this, I heard it from a great person, man of Shmuel. Where they come together and as they grow apart. Vikama, Omar Abaya, Arba Bitade Bitoiro. When you're talking about a shar, when you're talking about a bull, it's 4 fingers. According to the Rambam, it's 4 tfachim, which is a huge nafkamina, but basically 4 fingers up. So you go like this, and that's the makam of the Tzomis Hagidin. Bidakamai, okay, so that's in an ox. What about a small animal? Amabaya beliti have a Tzomis Hagidin. When they protrude out, you see them, that's considered Tzomis Hagidin bli, but when they're inside, you can't really tell. Loy have a Tzomis Hagidin. Ashune, if they're hard, have a Tzomis Hagidin. Rikiche, soft, they have a Tzomis Hagidin. Alime, if they're thick, have a Tzomis Hagidin. Ketine, loy have a Tzomis Hagidin. So these are the simanim by a smaller animal. Chivari, if they're white, have a Tzomis Hagidin. Loy chivari, loy have a Tzomis Hagidin. You'll see inside it. I don't have a picture here, but yeah, you can actually see here. You see how it turns from white to red. It becomes like part of the meat. So therefore, it has to be, by a smaller animal, it has to be white. Says the Gemara, there's another siman. Turn the page. Mar Baravashi Omar Kivin the Zigi. They're pale, they're clear, they're see-through. Afagav, the loy chivari, doesn't have to be white necessarily. In other words, it goes from red, it changes colors. When it switches colors, that is Tzomis Hagidin. Omar HaMeimah Mishmei Rav Zvid. The Tzomis Hagidin is comprised of 3 tendons. Chadalima, one is very thick. I think it's referring to the Achilles tendon. This guy right over here. Utrei ketine. I don't think the art scroll says it over there. That's but they mention this Achilles tendon the entire time. It's not a good injury to have. This, what? It's the thickest one. Utrei ketine. It's not a question of walking. It's a question of dying. Treifa is dying. Do you die within a year if your Achilles tendon ruptures? Utrei ketine. You have 2 smaller guys. So now we're going to have 4 shitas. If sekalima, if the thickest one breaks, as the Rav Binyan, so most of the structural properties of the tendons go bye-bye. So therefore, it's treif. If sekatine, and if the 2 out of the 3 small ones, so the 2 small ones, which are 2 out of the 3 total, so now you have most of the majority in numbers were cut, and therefore no good. So in other words, either the majority of the structure of the thickness, which is the main big one. The big one is larger. The large one is larger than two small ones. So therefore, if you even if one tendon, which is the largest one, cuts, it makes it a treifa. Or the two small ones get cut, it also makes it a treifa. Mar bar Rav Ashi Masna L'Kuli takes that exact concept and he says it for the reverse. If sikalima, if the large one tore, ho'ikaroiv minyan. At the end of the day, you have two that are still there, and memela, it's not a treifa. If siktine, and even if the two small ones break, ho'ikaroiv binyan, it's still not treif because you have the largest one. So what does he say? So then when is it a treifa?
One of each.
Again.
Big one and a small one.
Oh, very good. If the big one ruptures, not a treifa. If the two small ones rupture, not a treifa. So when is it a treifa? When one big one and one small one rupture. Ba'oifos, if you open up a chicken that you can do at home, shitzar chutei havu. You should know there's 16 tendons. They completely surround the whole pulka. Ifsik chad minayu, if one of them ruptures, treifa. Taisus explains, if one of them ruptures, they're all going to go eventually. So therefore, it's a treifa. Omar bar Rav Ashi,
Because they're all going to tear afterwards.
yeah, that's what I said. If one ruptures, they all rupture. Omar bar Rav Ashi, have a ki'im nekamei da'aba v'aisa nekamei efa. There was a story once where they brought a bird to the Rav. Ubadak v'ashkach be'chameisar. In other words, they brought it to Rav Ashi, and he found that there was only 15, and we said there's 16. So he checked. There's one that was a little different. Nafze, he broke it open. V'ashkach trei. He saw that was indeed 2, so there's really 16. There's always 16.
Nowadays, they haven't been able to identify the 16.
Really? Where did you
The
see that? Not in.
person who established the
Right.
about 30 odd years ago. Up till 30 years ago, we weren't voted for Tumasiki.
There was no reason to be by the Tzemach Gidan, yeah. But now that the chickens are
He
weaker,
wrote a
so-
statement about it, and he tried to identify 16, and he couldn't.
even if he broke them open and do what the Gemara just said,
Yeah, because what we just said with the Gemara.
how much did he get to? How many did he get to?
Yeah, there were 14, but as the Gemara explains here, they, and you can see in the picture, they split in the middle. So it's very hard to say which is a given.
One or two.
Yeah, one or
It's hard to
two.
see 1 and 2.
That's why we check out Shabbos, because if one breaks, they all break. So that after is that what we want to eat at Shabbos.
Chicken soup.
So actually, I saw.
Why 16, Levi? Why 16?
Yeah, Shvati, Imahos.
That's 18.
Yeah.
No? How many am I saying?
After
Okay.
30 years ago, we relied on it's one of the traders, but we're not pointing all the traders. And he showed that it was a miyutamatsui.
Right.
That it was so often.
But I don't think they check the Tzemach Gidan. They don't check, not all kashers check all Tzemach Gidan. I think they check every 10, every what?
The Rabbanot look at it from the outside, they don't catch open, but the
Reuben checks each and every one.
they
Check everyone.
single thing out.
All right. Omer Rav Yud Omer Rav. What? No, if they're intact. If they're all intact, you don't have to check the number. If a chicken is born with 13, it's not treif. If one of his tendons are ripped,
This is the.
that's the chicken one.
How can you, this is huge. In a chicken, it's wet. How would you even tell? It's dry and.
I don't know. You have to see. I don't know what they check for. I saw them stick their finger in there. They go like this.
You said they're not checking for it.
No, they do. The Mahadrin Hechshem do. Rabbanut doesn't. The Rabbanut is. Even the Mahadrin. Even I think it was Bet Yosef. Moshe. Matay botkim et Tzemach Gidan. Bet Yosef botkim kol echad or lo? Remember, we were at this place. They were only checking every 10. Each and every one, even Bet Yosef. Besides the Rabbanut. And what does Rabbanut check? Really? He says they only check 1 out of 1,000 in the Rabbanut.
What does that mean?
They don't check it because they never checked Tzemach Gidan. They just started checking it 30 years ago because they realized that the chickens are weaker. They started getting weaker because of all the all the injections they get, all the different antibiotics, whatever. So now there's more problems than they used to have. So they started checking it. They actually find problems. 3% is what? What's
in the garbage?
not 16? No, that's not what he said. No way. What did you say? How many percentage? How many percentage is treif?
He says 60%.
What, in the Tzom Sagidin? In the Tzom Sagidin. He says that depends on the day. Some days only 3% are treif or not good. Some days 60%. Depends on the batch of chickens you get in Israel. It's like a disease.
Yeah, but how do you deal with? How do you have 60% go? The whole business gone.
You just give it to the Rabbanot. You give it to the Rabbanot.
If it's 60%, I get rid of the whole thing. No?
Says the Gemara. No, you give it to the Arabs. Yeah. All right, let's go back to Rabbi Isai. Wow, we just burned 3-4 minutes. Zok the Gemara. I hope I don't skip like I did last time. Where am I? Omer Avilam Rav. Soimes Hagidin She'omru Beruboy. Most when it says Soimes Hagidin, most of the tendon was ripped. My Ruboy Beroiv Echad Mehem. 1 out of the 3, most of it was cut. That's enough to make it a treifa. Kamrito Kamei the Shmuel Omali Michlit Losahavu. Wait a minute, there's 3. Even if one of them was completely ripped, you still have a roiv. Now you can be medayik in Shmuel, taimedik a tray, holek a tray, loy. If you don't have 2, it's no good. They used to like hold up their, instead of shleikis, instead of suspenders, they had like a little string coming around. So basically it means, all it needs is a string holding it. Whatever the size of the string, doesn't matter.
Talking about chickens now? Or?
We're talking about the behema. The behema has 3 gidin. So even if this, even if it's held by a small string, it's kosher. Not the roiv of 1. Not to say that if 1 out of the 3 was cut 51%, then the whole animal is no good. It means 51% of 3. All 3 have to be cut 51%. Since there's 3, you have a third left of each and every one. Doesn't really mean a third. It can mean even 49%. But at the end of the day, or even 1%, so this is a raya Mishael Rav Noy, Omer Rav Noy, Omer Shmuel. So Misagidin Shamru Afilu in Shtarba Kechut Sarbak Sheiro. Then, if each and every one has 1 string left, it remains kosher according to the shita. Nishbar Etzem. You have a fractured bone. Omer Rav Lemalo Minar Kuva. Where did the fracture happen? Above the bottom joint. So, in this picture over here, above this red circle, right over here, by the green arrow. If you have most of the meat surrounding the fracture, then the animal is mutter and the foot is mutter. You're allowed to eat the foot. Then they both go bye-bye. They're both treif. The animal is also treif. Since this animal can't survive with a fractured foot, so then the whole animal is treif. It doesn't help to shecht it. Lematim in our kuva, below this red circle, im roiv abasur kayom zevizem mutar im lav aver osur behema muteris. What does Rav say? That if there's a fractured bone without meat around it, then the animal is mutar, the aver is osur. Yeah? What does that mean? So we have to remember this. Rav says, you hear? Rav says, if there's no meat around the bone that broke below the joint, then the aver is osur, but the animal is mutar. Shmuel Omar, bein lamala bein lamato, im rev abosur kayom, ze v'ze mutar. We got to talk to, he got smart. He started charging us. Shmuel says, bein lamala bein lamato. It doesn't matter if it's above the joint, below the joint. Im rev abosur kayom. Zev v'zeh mutar, im lav, Ever Aser ubehema muteres. So Shmuel says that even above the joint, the animal is mutter, but the Ever is Aser. Why is the Ever Aser? That's the halacha of the sugi we learned the other day. Of an Ever Amidaldal, you have a dangling limb.
Modifier.
Dangling modifier. Dangling limb. So the Ever becomes Aser. But the rest of the animal is not a problem. The Shechita comes and is matter the rest of the animal. Masculine Rav Nachman Shmuel. So Rav Nachman has a kasha Shmuel. Yoimru, they would say, Ever mena mutal bashmu muteres. You have a dangling Ever, and it belongs in the garbage. It's treif, and the rest of the animals mutter. Why are you asking a kasha on Shmuel? We said the same exact halacha on Rav below the joint. The Rav Nami Yoimru Ever mena mutal bashmu muteres. Right? We said the same exact halacha. According to Rav, below the joint, the Aver is Aser and the animal is mutter. Oh, they're going to say the Aver is treif and the rest of the animal is mutter. This is what I meant. Where the animal is life is dependent on it above the joint. The life is dependent on that Aver. If it doesn't have that bone, if the bone is cracked, the animal won't live. You're telling me that the animal is mutter. At the end of the day, where's the machlokes? The machlokes is in this area right over here. If this breaks, according to Rav, the animal is treif. According to Shmuel, the shank bone breaks, the animal is mutter, just the Aver is no good. Shochu mitam, so they sent from Eretz Yisrael, Hichasik say the Rav. The halach is like Rav, that once the shank bone breaks, the animal is treif. And by the way, we're going to say, I'm telling you now a secret, at the end of the Gemara, Shmuel is going to admit that that's the halacha. And later on they sent, this is a funny Gemara. First they said halacha is like Rav. Then they said, oh sorry, halacha kivas say the Shmuel. The halacha is like Shmuel, that if it breaks, the animal is not treif. Then the third time, kivas say the Rav. The halacha is like Rav. Ve'ever atzmoi mitama b'masa. The Aver itself has a halacha of Aver minachai. That going back, I don't want to scare you guys, but we'll just say for 1 second. Shchita oisa nipul. The Shechita creates a disconnection between the Aver and the rest of the body before it died, before the Shechita, and Memela is considered a complete Aver Menachai. Aver Menachai is Tomei. Bazar of Chizda, Loi, Imtiara Shechita Strefa Yisa, so he asks a kasha. This is a kasha to prove that ain't Shechita Yisa Nipol. Why? Because we learned the Remeir said, the Shechita has the power to take away Tumah from a dangling limb. So if you stop right here, you see that Shechita has the power. And then he continued, because the Aver is its own body. How does it have a power to be Mitar the baby? Fine. But his point was that Shechita has the power to remove Tumah. So you see that Shechita ain't oisanipol. It doesn't disconnect the limb prior to the Shechita. That it does have an effect on the limb. Amalei Rabba, just a side question. Hadura pircha lamalach. Why do you have to ask a question? Oisim mimas nisin. You should ask a question directly from a Mishnah at the end of the Masechta, which we also had this Mishnah. Nishchata behema huchshuru b'demel. There meir. That if the animal was shechted, the limb also becomes kosher l'tuma, huchshur l'tuma, through the blood. So you see, Reb Shimon Omer lo huchshur, but akopanim, you see, l'kula alma, the shechita removes tuma from a limb. Amalei masnisan ikil etchui kidetchinon, like we pushed it off earlier, like a few days ago, we had this exact sugya that we said, oh, maybe the Mishnah is not talking about the limb, the Mishnah is talking about a piece of meat. And a piece of meat is different than the limb itself in terms of Ever Menachai, so therefore you need a special Hechsher Tumah. So that's why he brought the kasha from the Braisa. That he said the halach is like Rav, that anything above the joint, in other words, the shank bone that breaks, the whole animal becomes Aser. Omelei Yishar, you did the right thing, you're saying right. And this is how the lion or The king in Bavel says the halacha.
The Lion King.
The Lion King, very good. Rashi says, Aryoich Melech Alasar. Some want to say Alasar means Al Isur. That the halacha is not like him, be Isurim, but it's in like him when it comes to other things. Shmuel, he's the halacha is like him in dinim. So he's the king of din. V'chein tigma Aryoich beBavel. Aryoich Manu Shmuel. Wait a minute. V'mivlik Polig. We just had a machlekes Rav and Shmuel. Shmuel is the one that said broken shank bone kosher. Hadabe Shmuel. Shmuel had charata later on legabe the Rav, and he said Rav is right. Broken shank bone makes the entire animal treif, and not just its own aver. Ton Rabbanan. Nishbar etzem v'yotzel achutz. You had a compound fracture. The bone breaks and pops out. Im or ubasar chayvenis ruboy. Remember these words here, important for later on. Im or ubasar. If the skin and the meat cover most of it, the bone, mutter. Im lav, osur. There's a lot of pictures here, but I just have one. I don't know if it helps even. Here's a compound fracture, it pops out. Over here, most of the bone is covered. In other words, you don't really see, if you peek from over here, you don't see, you see the jagged bone? So we're talking about, if this is the bone and it fractured, could you see over here? Not this part. The actual fracture inside of it, could you see the bone marrow? If most of the bone marrow is covered by skin and meat, then it's okay.
Why isn't it referring to the actual part itself?
That's the next thing. That's the next thing. Here, the thickness. And some say, we're talking about the meat around the bone. You need meat around the bone. Omrav Papa, is this familiar? Hilkach bi'inon roiv avyai, ubi'inon roiv ekefai. This is Levi's speech on Hanukkah. Yeah? Look inside. Omrav Papa Hilkach, that's why bi'inon roiv avyai, ubi'inon roiv ekefai. This is one of the 10 times in Shas that Rav Papa says a compromise. Rashi doesn't say it's a compromise. The other time we had it, Rashi says on Samachay, Rashi says it's not a compromise. Not like Rava was mixed up between the two shitas. Do you need most of the thickness or most of the circumference? He says no. That's what Rabbi Yochanan meant. You need both. It's actual psak, not because he had a suffix and he combined the two shitas. He says that's how it is. Agaparim, right? That was his speech. That since there's 10 times in Shas that mentioned Rav Papa made a compromise. And Levi l'shitasai achdos and compromising. So Mela, that's why he's mentioned at the Siyum, him and his 10 sons, for the 10 times that he compromised. I forgot. In Chullin there's like three or four of them, whatever. We at least had one or two. This is one of them. Says the Gemara. Omar Ula, Omar Rabbi Yochanan, or Hareu Kibasar. You don't need meat. Skin covering the bone is also good. Omar Rabbi Yochanan Ula, v'lei mimar. Or mitztarev lebasar. It says, if you read those words that I told you to remember, it says im or u basar chayvim misruba. If the skin and the meat cover it, then it's okay. So why don't you say that the skin combined with the meat is okay? That you need also meat. Why do you say that skin is enough? It says if you just read the words, the way you read the words is im or u basar. You need both. Not oy basar, it doesn't say oy. The or u basar katani. Amalei anan or oy basar taninan. The way I heard it was or. Either. Either the skin covers it or the meat covers it. You don't need a combination of two. Ikadamri Omer Ula Omer B'Yochanan or mitzaref lebasar. You could combine the two. Omer Ravnachman Ula v'leim mar or mashlim lebasar. Not that you have half and half. Just if you have a little bit of skin, then it's mashlim. Omerlei, I know of a story. There was a bird that have a Rabbi Yitzchak the orim mitzaref lebasar hava. It was a combination. V'osel kamei the Rabbi Yochanan v'achsherei. Omerlei, don't bring any raya from a bird. Bar goyzel kamers, bar goyzel the rakich shani. Adkan. Since a bird has soft skin, so soft skin combines with soft flesh. But an animal that has very tough skin, it's a different combination. Adkan.